Hi, good evening, everyone. We'll just give it a minute and then we'll get started. All right, good evening, everyone. Good to have you all. So we're getting started. So what I'll do today is I'm going to walk you through with my team. We have the product managers, solution experts who are going to join for the various sessions of this demonstration of the platform and the solutions that we have in the platform. So I'm going to start with introducing the platform, walking you through the nuts and bolts and how the real platform works. And then we'll take you through various solutions and the demonstration of those solutions subsequently. So ECA is an intelligent and intuitive cloud for the office of the CFO, as we've discussed in the previous presentations with you all. There's just a summary of TAM, $110 billion, growing at 10% per annum. Our SAM is growing at 30%. Next slide, please. This is a summary of the industries and the solutions that we have. Today, we have the right to win in manufacturing and the natural resources. As we speak through our treasury and ESG solutions, we are talking to many more industries, namely in financial services, insurance, and retail as well. We just won the deal in transportation and ESG, for example. So that this matrix will get expanded as we play out our go-to-market strategy. Why platform wins? And you will see it in the demonstration in a bit. Shortest implementation time, modern capabilities, align with the industry gold standards in terms of functional coverage, modern AI and analytics capabilities. At a platform scale, we are managing about 500 million contracts, 1 million invoices per day, about 50 billion in payments getting processed, 2 million logistics movements, 8,000 plus dashboards and reports, and about $500 million of metric tons of direct material is being handled. So this is a enterprise grade, low code, no code platform focused on the office of the CFO. So in addition to the generic components of unified data source, app builder, workflow automation, integration hub, we also have specific component which is required for the office of the CFO, which are FX management, risk and compliance, straight through processing, end of day P&L, and looking at business partner onboarding for our e-sourcing solution. These are the specific components which make it so much compelling for the office of the CFO. These are the connectors I'm going to walk you through in the system. Next slide, please. Security, we have spent a lot of time in making the platform ready for the enterprise grade security across many customers that we have. So these are the apps. We're going to walk you through that in the solution. So we'll jump into demonstration. Gaurav, if Gaurav is a product manager of the platform, and Gaurav, if you can please bring up the platform. So this is the login screen. So user logs in through the screen. We have the multi-factor authentication enabled on the platform as well. The platform does connect to enterprise, whether Microsoft Azure authentication-based system or any other LDAP that they use. That's how you log in. So in terms of organization of the platform, this is where you see all the apps. And apps are then divided into various functions, risk and compliance, finance, supply chain, trade. So basically covering entire procurement to payment cycle. So these are how the enterprise apps are delivered. Now, in terms of structure, each app has setup. So, if you remember during the presentation, I used the slogan that, they are smart individually and they work together brilliantly. So that's what it means, that each application on its own can deliver you usable functionality which a user can use. So if you look at the setup of any app, it is then mapped to various templates. And within templates, we have various configurations that exist, which helps us making the true product nature on SaaS, where customers can configure based on their needs across industries and across functions. So this is the application configuration. Now the core component of the platform, if you go to setup, Gaurav, is the connector piece, where system comes with pre-built 40 plus connectors right now. We have connected with the plethora of systems, as you can see, SAP being the prominent one. So we cover everything from SAP HANA to, we have right now about 15 integrations on SAP, which are live across our customer base. With SAP HANA, of course, it is the latest REST API-based integration, whereby using the API key, the data starts flowing in. So this is the most modern integration. Similarly, we have integrated with Refinitiv. So Refinitiv platform was not very modern. So we spend a lot of time in integrating to hundreds of APIs that they have across market curves, reference and regulatory, other ratings that they have. Similarly, we have straight-through processing with ICE and CME for the risk and compliance, and Salesforce, of course. But this ecosystem will continue to grow, and that is, core part of go-to-market as well as the value proposition to the customer, seamless integration. Then the second component is the entire process automation or workflow automation, which we talk about. So Gaurav, if you go to setup and click on the scheduler, you will see here you can actually configure your own process. If you go to any process and edit, you will understand that's how user actually can create a process and edit as to what comes first, what comes second, and how the process runs. And that's how we run the nested workflows, or data comes in and it goes to multiple flows level. There is a criteria for, drag and drop. What happens when something fails? What happens when something succeeds? So this is how the core part of the process automation engine work. And Divanshu and team and Sid and everybody else is going to come will explain to you how it actually works when we actually show you the solution. And the third component of the platform is actually analytics driven, which is the embedded analytics. So we have actually the full list of insights which are available on the platform, which is divided into various solutions or dashboards or data insights, what we call. So each of these dashboards can work on the data that comes into the platform. These all dashboards are user driven. So you click on any dashboard, you see the P&L dashboard. It has drill downs, it has numbers coming in. One can drill down and figure out how data is flowing into the system. And the beauty is that user can change the views. So if you click on the edit and show how drag and drop works. So user can create their own views, they can change the graphs, they can pick on the fields that they want. So we have a deep analytics functionality built into that. So it is not only the advanced analytics, we also have the AI built into it. So each of these data elements that are coming in, we can run in an Anomaly Engine, for example. If you go back and click on the third, yeah. So Anomaly Detection Engine is inbuilt in the right now in the process of inbuilding the cash flow casting algorithm, for example. So the AI also gets embedded in the same user interface. And the second is the comment column, is a comment icon, which helps you collaborate and share across the users that you have. So a treasurer can collaborate with the risk manager can collaborate with compliance or with the business user. So that's how the entire platform covers your app creation, analytics, workflow automation, collaboration, and AI. And then user can create their own apps. So if you can go to that flow in My Apps, Gaurav. Yeah, so user can create their own apps from the data that they get. So we have a full workflow of creating new app using a workbench for apps. I'm not going to walk you through the entire app studio, but that's how all these apps come together. And since the data is all interconnected, all these apps can work on a single platform from procurement to payments. This is a kind of short summary of how platform looks and how it comes to life when you actually go through the demonstration of each solution. So now I'll request my, let's see who's there on the call here. So Sid, can you hear us? Yes, Sid.
Yes, Manav, I
If
can
you
hear
can
you.
walk the audience through the e-sourcing and the CTRM solution, that will be helpful.
Sure, Manav. Yeah, I'm just going to present my screen in a moment. Right. I hope everyone can see my screen now. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Yeah, Manav. I think, and everybody on the call, hi. So, yeah, I wanted to walk you through first the e-sourcing application, and then we'll move into the CTRM, which is, again, the full trading life cycle. So I'm actually logged in here, and you will see there's a customer connect. What e-sourcing is trying to do is effectively automate your communication with your suppliers, right? So it can be any commodity. I'm actually here as part of the physical trade cycle, which is allowing you to source any commodity from a certain supplier. And this is a company's view, right? The company which is trying to procure a material. They could be procuring any kind of commodity, an agri commodity, metals, any commodity, rubber, any raw material that they want to procure. They can actually go through the entire contract life cycle, and they can then collaborate with the supplier, right? So if you look at this screen here, you're seeing a lot of different commodities: cattle, cocoa, raw sugar, things. And that also then, from the company's perspective, allows them to track it all through into delivery as well. So they can actually look at all the receival of the grain, or receival of the rubber or the soybeans into your silos or warehouses. So the whole tracking happens at the company side of things, right? Now, what happens to the supplier? Now, the key benefit here on the sourcing is for the supplier to be able to view all of this in a more automated manner. This is the supplier's view. A supplier basically has access to all the information that they have been interacting with the company for. So for example, they could be managing all their contracts, and tickets are effectively all their trucks and logistical movements that they're doing. They're actually looking at all the prices and limits. Manav may have mentioned about the negotiation capabilities. So even before you get into a contract, the e-sourcing allows you, in a sense, the company to publish prices or ask for prices from suppliers. And the suppliers themselves can also have various prices and tonnage limits that they can supply. There's lots of back and forth communication happening on the e-sourcing as well. As I said, again, all the movement orders, tickets, reporting, all through into inventory management as well. So from the key use case that I'm talking about here is one with Cargill, where Cargill's interacting with 10,000 farmers, right? And otherwise it could be any supplier. In this case, 10,000 farmers. They provide this as a value added service. Farmers are able to get a near real time information of all the grain deliveries they may have done to Cargill silos. They're able to get information about the payments, so this is the finances. So they get information about what invoices have been raised, what payments have been done. And it also allows Cargill to, in a sense, know what the inventory is at a silo and what is the cost of goods of that inventory. So there's a lot of communication that is happening between a certain supplier and that company. So the e-sourcing is trying to automate that whole segment. So if you look at this one, it's saying 1500 tons of corn is to come, and this 1500 tons of corn can then be allocated to a truck, or you can look at amendments. And so this is again the farmer or the supplier having a full portal access. This is also available on mobile, by the way, so you actually have that full accessibility from a modern UI perspective. I will extend the CTRM use case a little further there, and again, touching upon some key apps from a CTRM perspective. A CTRM, which is like a trading organization trying to handle multiple aspects of the full trade life cycle, including managing their physical trades, which could be more complex than just contracting with a farmer. When you're contracting with a large trading house, you could have formulas come into the pricing mechanism. You could be hedging them on your markets, grain on CBOT, metals on LME, or any exchange for that matter. You're looking at complex derivative instruments, and at all the while also tracking all the shipping or the logistics from the supplier to the customers. So there's a whole gamut of apps which are slightly different from the sourcing side of things such as P&L explained, or valuing options, or looking at value at risk, so on and so forth, right? So if I talk about one key app before I maybe talk about a little more on the physicals and things. P&L explained is a key use case which a lot of companies try and solve, especially trading companies, because they want to know what the change in P&L is between two end of days or between today and 5 days before, and how is that P&L being attributed to various buckets in their P&L change, right? So one is a trendline analysis, which is a simple analysis. Imagine someone from the management wanting to look at P&L over time. So they see that their P&L over time has been roughly positive with some bad days. They want to then start drilling down, right? Is the P&L especially through derivatives trading, or is it mostly due to physicals, and then by book and changes, and then they come down to the big analysis, right? The big analysis is where they try and attribute all the P&L changes to one or the other bucket. Now, this is a critical problem that many companies have tried to solve, and this is a very complex problem because you just do not know what that P&L change could be or which bucket it could go into effectively. So if you look at this one, this is giving you P&L over 7 days, and over 7 days it is telling you that the number of buckets are slowly increasing because more and more people are starting to do things on those trades, right? So new trades have come in, FX has changed, new costs have come in, there's been a grade change, cancellations have happened, and this is again repeating. It's a complex problem to solve, and again we solve this out with some of our key clients, right? So this is a key problem to solve. But otherwise, if you look at it again, going back to something like a physical trade, if it's a gas trader, power trader, oil trader, you're looking at all the agri trading. All the contracting happens on one single platform. Ability to handle multiple formula pricing deals, ability to value those deals, benchmark against a certain index or a market curve, and then ability to then look at the entire hedging life cycle. You're looking at futures, swaps, accumulators, standard options or OTC options, building formulas yourself, look at maybe custom trades or OTC formulas, and then freight hedging, settlements, currency. So these are again important things for a trader. If you look at a trading company like, say, Kofco or a Cargill, who are dealing with multiple currencies, the ability to look at cash flows in various currencies, ability to hedge, their FX, either through a swap trade or a forward trade or an option deal. So you're looking at that whole life cycle on the derivative side as well. Again, SCM is at the heart of every trader. Again, if it's e-sourcing, you're looking at the procurement side of things. If it's a trading company, you would typically, if it's an international trader, you go deep into chartering, void charters, time charters, managing ETAs, ETD, shipping KPIs. How do you measure all of that, right? You first have to have the data capture, or maybe integrate to a third-party system to fetch that data into the platform, right? So that whole tracking of the logistics, from the supplier to the customer in a trading landscape is completely managed on the platform, and eventually moving into, inventory and the accounting, which is effectively where all the settlements flow in, right? Valuing your stock or looking at invoicing, looking at your end of days and end of months. So from a CTRM standpoint, I mean, this is the transactional life cycle that we're talking about. I spoke a little bit about the analytics that we bring to the table as well. And there's tons of other reporting that you can add on here. I mean, if you look at, for example, position in mark to market or value at risk, right? So these are key components to how a trader operates. There's an operational tracking of the trade and the logistics and the settlements. But if you're a true risk manager, you're again looking at running maybe a Monte Carlo simulation, or maybe trying to stress your portfolio, giving it a twist on the prices or the basis, and looking at your overall P&L. So these are again tools that Eka provides as a platform, which are add-ons to the core CTRM as well. So you're looking at your various portfolios, trying to run some simulations, right? So you're trying to create portfolios and running scenarios which are Monte Carlo 95, 99, 1 day, 5 day, 60 day. And then again, doing what if trades, and again, pushing that into the VAR numbers as well. So a lot of simulation capability. That's again a key metric that a lot of traders like, trying the ability to stress it, the ability to play around with a few scenarios, and then eventually get into an actual trade if they're comfortable with how their positions are looking like, right? So those are the aspects around the trading and risk that I would like to highlight. Manav, anything more that you would like to cover or add here?
Yes. Yeah, I think, sorry. This is good, Sid. I think we have covered CTRM and e-sourcing. Thank you very much. This is, of course,
Sure,
a very small demonstration of the big apps that we have got. but I hope everybody's got a good view on what it has to offer. We're happy to take any questions that you may have later in the Q&A session. Now we'll move to the treasury team. I will request Dipanshu to come and give demonstration. Dipanshu was head of treasury products at IN. He was managing director of Reval, and IN is a company who actually acquired 5+ treasury systems. So he has come with a lot of experience, and he has configured the entire treasury solution on the platform. Dipanshu, over to you.
Thank you, Manav. If you can unshare the screen, yeah. I will share the screen. Okay, I guess you guys are able to see my screen. Yeah, perfect. So real quick, I'll quickly show you a backdrop of our treasury solution. So this is a typical treasury solution, which is offered to our ideal customer profile. So this is where we excel. This is where we do very well. Typical customer would have a revenue range between 1 billion to 20 billion. They would have roughly 30 to 40 legal entities across the world. They will have 200 users who will be using the system. They will be having 12 currency on which they are operating on. They would normally have 10 bank accounts, 12 bank accounts, and around 400 plus accounts under those banks. And they would be doing a lot of payment transactions. Roughly 2.5 billion monthly payments is what is being processed through our system. If we go further, so what exactly a treasurer or a CFO of this particular outfit needs? So they need to know where my money is today. They also need to know where my money will be, how much money will I have in a week, in a month, in a quarter, or maybe in a year. Now they also want to manage their subsidiaries centrally. So they would like to transfer all the money, wherever there is a deficit, there is a need, they would like to manage and transfer the money to those subsidiaries. If they have any excess money lying in any currency, in any entity's account, they would like to use that money and invest that money. They would also like to see what is their overall cash situation. If any of the entity or overall, if anybody has a cash crunch, they will need to manage that. That's another of their expectation. And also they want to look at the currency split of the business transactions they are doing and manage the currency exposure. So unfortunately or fortunately, in our ecosystem, most of the such operations or such treasury outfit are struggling with siloed systems. So they end up collating the bank balances, bank statements themselves. They have a very inaccurate or a cumbersome way of managing the cash forecasting and liquidity so that they can get a better view of the future cash flows. Payment is a mess also. So there's a lot of failures which are happening, which are unreconciled. There are delays which they are not able to manage. And then if we go a little bit one level up, they have in certain pockets, they have money which is sitting idle and they're not able to invest that money properly. And also the cash crunch across various entities, it's a struggle to manage that as well. So now how do we actually manage that is through our treasury solution, which I, like Manav was saying, so I come from the world of IN and Reval, where we took 4 years, 5 years to build a treasury solution. And using Eka's powerful platform, we are able to build a solution very fast. And that's the USP of this platform. And it's a very, scalable, very, comprehensive treasury solution, which will actually allow us to offer these, remove these challenges for our treasury office. So I'll quickly show you the treasury solution now. So I hope you guys can see the browser. So this is how a treasury solution would be delivered to our customers. So how it is delivered is using these apps. So each tiles you see are apps in our system. So we have 55 plus apps, and some of those apps are being used by the treasury solution. Like for example, cash management app, derivative app, liquidity management app is what we have configured for this particular customer. What is an app? App is a small packet of functionality, a complete functionality, end-to-end functionality delivered to the customer so that they can consume it and complete their business process. So for example, if the current need of a treasury solution is only to manage cash, do the bank reconciliation, they can start with the cash management app. And as their need evolves, they can then buy the derivative management app or a liquidity management app, or furthermore into that the working capital management app as well. So what it allows us to do is to basically evolve along with the need of the customer, evolve the solution along with the need of the customer. Now I'll actually quickly show you some pieces of the solution which will try and eliminate or remove the challenges which the treasury office, which we highlighted the treasury office is facing. So this is like a complete suite of apps, which it will look something like this if everything is brought together. But I'll focus more on the cash management app, liquidity management app for now. So let's look at the cash management app. So the first problem which the cash analyst wanted to solve was to get a good view of how much money do they have today. So let's see how we can solve that problem using our treasury solution. So if you look at this dashboard, we can see that today's balance is this much, how it is split across the banks. So Wells Fargo has this much of money sitting here. In Bank of America, this is the amount of money, and this is the amount of money which is uncleared. Now I also want to see how is the entity balance or how much money each of the entity is having. So we can actually have an entity-wise balance structure as well. So this nicely presents you and splits the same amount of money by the entity. That's also a very valuable tool which most of our customers are asking for. Then this is a very important process in the treasury. So by each banks and by the policy of the treasury office, there is a target which is being set. So we have a tool which actually allows to do the target rebalancing. So what it does is for each of the banks or a bank account, you will be setting up a minimum and a maximum target balance. So the money needs to be above the minimum balance. And if it is above the maximum balance, then it needs to be reinvested. So if the money should never sit idle. So this actually utility gives us a good view of how much money is there in which bank. And so for example, in Bank of America, we are okay because we are slightly above the target balance, and this is a good scenario to have. Again, Treasury Office also wants to look at the same information with respect to the currency. So if I go here, I will see the same piece of information split by currency. So this is the currency split. So another view and another way of representing the same piece of information. And you can actually go and drill down into it at the nth level. So you can go and see the details here, go and see records. So this is how the data is actually looking like. Now, how does this all work together? So let me tell you how this works. So basically, so there's a strong utility which we have, which we call the process automation utility. So we have automated a lot of our processes in this. So for example, you will see the daily bank file processing has been automated. So what it does is it imports the bank file from those 400 or 300 bank accounts. It then parses it and then processes the bank account file. And using this piece of information or using this process, we are able to collate all the data or the position of the cash from across all the banks for that particular treasury office. Again, this can also be done manually or it can be scheduled. So for example, if you want, you can import the bank file at any given point of time using the utility which can be run from here. So again, one of the other activity which the cash team does is basically they need to ensure whatever is the money which is projected to be paid today, has it been paid or received or not. So they need to do the bank reconciliation activity, which is covered in the cash operations process. So here what they do is basically they look at all the bank files which are processed, what was the projected amount of transaction which was to happen today, how much of that transaction has happened, what all is still unreconciled, what am I able to true up, and what is still pending, and has it been sent to the GL system. So the end of the day task completion for the account manager or for the cash account manager is basically to ensure that there is nothing pending on the GL side and there is no unreconciled transactions. And we have a lot of utility which allows them to do that. So there's a bank reconciliation utility. There is a very intelligent way of matching the cash against the projection, and also listing all of that and trying to resolve the breaks which are there. So that was more about the cash management piece. Now, once I know that I have the right cash position and I have trued up all the reconciled all the cash transactions which has happened, now I need to process the payment for today. So we have a payment utility which does the processing of payment of 3-4 types. Whether you are doing an investment, so you will actually do and transfer the money from your account over to the investment account and then do the investment into money market funds. Or secondly, you may be doing some kind of account receivable, account payable type of operational payments as well. The third piece of information or the payment processing is you may be transferring the money to your own subsidiary. So these are covered under the treasury payment umbrella, and that is what our treasury module or the payment module covers. I'll quickly show you what the payment module does. So before I go there, let me actually quickly show you how it is all done. So there's a payment and pooling process which we have built. So what it does is it actually does the target rebalancing. All the account needs to be balanced to their target. It does zero balancing, which is a special case of target balancing. Then it creates a ACH or the wire files, and then it actually does a lot of update. It updates the balances and all of that, and all the way it goes into the custodian account. So if you will see, a lot of payment instructions are generated in this process. So now the cash manager or the payment manager needs to get a good view of this. So once this is processed, we need to actually review this whole payment transactions. Now, how do I do that? Is I'm quickly going to show you next. So in the payment app, which is another app which we have delivered. So this is the payment dashboard, which actually tells me very nicely what all payment transactions were processed, what all payment transactions are pending approval, and what all have failed. So for example, if I drill down, I right click and see records, I'll see that these are the payment transactions which have failed. So this is one way of knowing what all payment transactions have failed. Obviously, I have a split by reason that why the payment transactions failed. And I also have a way of understanding the payment status. So the way the payment is done is through credit card, or it is also done through Swift messaging format or mechanism. Now, this is a demo of an insurance company which we have set up. So they do 2 or 3 type of activity. One is the investment activity where they are investing their excess money. The other is they are paying the claims. So this is the transaction which has happened for the claim today. And this is the concentration account. So when there is a excess money in the child account across the world, the money needs to be moved to the parent account or the concentration account. And from there, some portion of the money gets invested. So that's the process which we have built. And this is a good view of showing that whole process here. Now there's an interesting piece which I will show you later on, is how do we get alerts and monitoring of these payment failures as well. So we have built that. So if we get time, we'll actually cover that as well. But the next one which I would like to cover is the payment trends. So not that I just need to be aware of the payment which is happening today. I would like to know the payment trends as well. So this capability which we have built tells me for this insurance company, what is the amount of payment which is processed, what is the premium which has been processed, what are the claims which has been processed, and what are the upcoming payments. So you get a nice tile which shows that. You get a projection of the past payment. So you can see in the payment as well in the past, what were the credit payments and what were the debit payments. And then you will see for next month, which is your focus area as of now, focus time horizon, what kind of credit payments will be there and what kind of debit payments will be there. So this utility gives a nice output, which presents you a little bit, takes you into the future payments as well. Now, once I have processed all the payments, once I have settled all the cash information, one of the strategic activity which the cash manager or the payments or a bank relationship manager of a treasury team needs to do on an ongoing basis is to understand what kind of fees and charges is the bank charging them. So we have this bank fee analytics module, which actually helps us produce that. So for example, if I go again here, and if I look at my process automation, I'll see that there's a bank fee analysis utility which is being built, which picks up all the CAMP file format, which is a format of file which is used for pulling in the bank fee statements, and the anomaly detection algorithm is run. Now, once this is run, how will this whole thing look like is what we are going to see today. What we have done is two things. One is we have been able to collate all the bank fees which are being paid by me, by the treasury outfit, but we also have a utility, we also have the capability to tell you what is the suggested bank fee, because we are able to compare it against your similar treasury offices and benchmark it. So it looks like this. So for this particular period of time, 4.31K bank fee I have paid, and I was what my algorithm suggests is you are somewhere in the ballpark, so you are doing okay. Now I will split it by fee types. So for example, account maintenance fees, deposit fees, wire transfer fees, and all kind of looks very much in line. But is this the right picture? So probably we need to dive a little bit deeper into it. So now I will look into the last 3 months transaction, and now the story starts to unfold a little bit. So I'll see that off late, my suggested amount is lower than what actually I have been paying. So there is a kind of an indicator that now I should start negotiating with my bank relationship partner. Now let's go a little bit deeper and take another look at the bank fee comparison across various banks which I have relationship with. So if you look here, so if you look at Bank of America, the green one, which is the suggested amount, is lower than what is being charged. If you look at Wells Fargo, they seem to be treating you well because they are actually charging less money compared to what is suggested. But Citibank is charging a lot more money compared to what was suggested by our algorithm. So this actually tool gives us a very good way to look at what is your situation with respect to the benchmark using the various data we have been able to gather. And then finally, we also produce anomaly detection. Is there a type of fees or a bank relationship partner where there is some sort of an anomaly? So this report actually gives you a nice view of the anomalies which exist in our system. So this actually more or less covers the cash and the bank relationship part of the treasury solution. Now, the next part which I'll actually quickly cover is the liquidity management fees. So once I know that I have enough money, I've paid all the money, I need to know whether I have enough money for the next 3 months or 6 months, right? So this liquidity management system allows me to present that kind of a view to the treasury office. So what is the credit forecast? So what is the net forecast for next 12 months what is the credit forecast, what is the debit forecast. This is how my money transactions is being projected by my various business units. So what happens is all the 30 plus business units are going to submit the cash projections for the whole year. And this is how it will look like. Now I can go and look at this in a very, very detailed manner. So this is one of the report, which is very handy, which tells me what is my investment activity, in which month, what type of investment am I going to do. So you can get a very good view of this right out of the box. So you can get this view again. So this is a nice utility, nice tool which we have. And the other thing which we want to know is, because this whole cash forecasting is done on a monthly basis. So we would like to see how are we performing month on month. So what my units and business units and what I predicted in the month of September. So for example, in September, I predicted this is going to be the pattern for next 12 months. Now, what did I predict last month? Why there is sudden delta or sudden change? So you can see here. So for the month of February, a month back, I predicted that I will be having negative money, but all of a sudden now I'm predicting I will have enough money. So what happened? What changed? So I can quickly go and see the records and figure out what is the delta and what's the reason for this variance analysis. Now this is all done in two ways. So one, it is very, very manual in nature. All the 35 business units are uploading that data, collating that data manually. Now we try to automate it in two steps. One step is we connect to the various ERP systems, accounting system, and pull the account payable and receivable data. So that increases the efficiency, reduces the effort from 10 days a month to roughly 2 days a month. But can we actually increase the accuracy as well? So those are the two dimensions, to increase the efficiency and increase the accuracy. So we are able to achieve that using our machine learning system, which we have built. So if you look here, you will see that I am able to predict for the whole year without really asking you to input the data. How do I do that? Is I look at last 3 years of data, use that as a pattern or a trend, and use the machine learning model to predict this for next 1 year. So pretty much without much effort, you are able to achieve the same prediction or forecast. Now, this prediction is as good as, unless it is very accurate, it is not very useful. So let's see how accurate this is. So based on various runs which we have, we are able to predict up to 6 months forward data with 90 to 93% accuracy. And then once it is beyond 6 months, we see that it diverges a little bit, but overall we are able to produce up to 85% of accurate prediction. So that's a machine learning model which has really helped our users with respect to increasing the efficiency and also with respect to increasing the accuracy of the system. So I guess these are the two main topics I wanted to discuss, and I guess I'll invite Chichi.
All right, thanks, Sipanshu. And as you saw, there are many more. The solution is very deep, and we can probably spend another hour or two to walk you through this. But this is just a very high-level summary which Devanshu has walked you through today. So thank you, Devanshu. So next segment is to ESG, which is the newly launched solution on 27th of October. Shuchi, who heads the HR and also sustainability, is going to walk you through that. Shuchi, over to you.
Thanks, Manav. I'm sharing my screen, everyone. Trust you're able to see it.
Yeah.
Great. I'll quickly jump into first telling you for a quick 2 or 3 minutes, in a nutshell, what the sustainability solution comprises of. We essentially do sustainability sourcing, sustainability tracking, ESG, and sustainability reporting. And the reason for having a solution in this context is essentially because we wanted to have a unified sustainability product, a unified ESG product that serves as a mechanism for organizations to have a consolidated ESG and sustainability view, right? So in doing that, a typical consumer of an ESG solution or a sustainability product is the chief sustainability officer, sometimes the compliance officer as well. And we are increasingly seeing the finance office being very interested as a stakeholder in the ESG solution. And that's why we think it makes it very relevant to have the sustainability product or an ESG product as a part of the CFO suite as well. So a typical organization is an organization of revenue 1 billion to 20 billion with 15 to 20 cross-functional users. And we do a lot of voluntary as well as many compliance related disclosures across common frameworks that we see typically is GRI, CDP, and TCFD. And not only that, organizations also have very specific customized disclosure requirements as well. So that creates the persona of the user by and large. As on date, no matter how large an organization and how advanced and significant their journey of sustainability, they still collate at least 70% of their sustainability information manually, despite having systems. There are also multiple spreadsheets. At any given point in time, a sustainability team works with around 590 different sustainability indicators and 30 to 35 different spreadsheets across 5 to 6 different stakeholders in the system or different teams. And because the teams are disparate, the kind of data that is required is different for different teams, very sensitive in nature. There is typically a lack of data transparency and also a lack of readiness for disclosures. And we see that across different frameworks, redundancy continues to exist. So there are a multitude of frameworks that organizations need to disclose upon. But when you ask the sustainability teams, they are collecting the surveys and requirements for each of these frameworks separately when it is easily systematized, as we'll show you, as a part of a system. And year end, when you have to produce a sustainability report, typically organizations heavily depend on sustainability experts and consultants for reports, which run them into tens of thousands of dollars. So then what are really the needs of a chief sustainability officer that we are solving? We're seeing the chief sustainability officers and sustainability heads is asking us these fundamental questions when we meet with them. Can I see my sustainability KPIs in a snapshot quickly? And are they updated real time? Can the team collect the data just one time across any different frameworks that I'm reporting and disclosing upon? Can I get a real-time view of my sustainability performance? And the most popular, and as you'll all also agree, given the COP26 that we are seeing right now and a lot of traction around the carbon net zero goals across the world, what is my current carbon footprint? That is being asked continuously. How can I reduce that carbon footprint? And how do I assess and how do I know my non-financial sustainability risk? This is a question that a lot of CFOs also typically ask us, right? So I just wanted to highlight this as a part of our value proposition because we are looking at solving the needs of the sustainability officers. We are looking at making sure that the current state does not remain current. You do not have disparate systems. You do not have data latency and redundancy in the system. So quickly jumping over to the demo itself. So here's how the sustainability system looks. Let me just log in. So when I log in, you see the primary apps in the system is corporate sustainability, environmental sustainability, health and safety, and risk and monitoring. The way we have structured these apps is because the disclosure requirements are very specifically categorized in these areas. So, typically corporate sustainability would work on or would require for us to disclose on indicators on unfair competition, assessment of suppliers, economic performance of the organization, different procurement practices, or client privacy. Environmental sustainability, which is definitely the most popular, has the vastest number of disclosure requirements, would expect for any system to disclose on energy, water, biodiversity, emissions, carbon footprint, effluents, residue, so on and so forth, right? On the health and safety side, while there are primarily a lot of workflow systems that help you manage health and safety, This is more looking at the disclosure side of health and safety, where we talk about employee diversity, where we talk about worker health and safety violations, information, the employer mix, and non-discrimination, and so on and so forth, right? And then, of course, risk and monitoring is an app where the organization is able to assess and understand their carbon risk at any given point in time. Is there a certain risk that we've built in, and are the risk parameters in a certain location over or under, right? So what we've also done very interestingly, while popularly you would have these apps, and within these apps you can see all these multitude of different dashboards that are compliant with specific frameworks. You see here we have about 35 different dashboards within the environmental sustainability app, all very relevant to the GRI framework or associated frameworks. We have also created apps specifically for frameworks. So for example, for GRESB, for SDG, for SECR, for SASP, for CDP, for TCFD, we have created specific apps, which means that while you have the seeded apps on the corporate sustainability, environmental sustainability, and health and safety, you can also quickly just go and take a look at these apps, because these will provide you relevant data of what this framework specifically requests or expects from you. So you don't have to go into all the different dashboards that are available, right? So that was a quick layout of the app and how it is structured. Then if I were to go into quick deco, an organization needs to understand its target and KPIs for sustainability. So you have a beautiful dashboard for the CFO, for the CXO, for the Chief Sustainability Officer, to understand what are the KPIs that we are targeting this year. Am I looking at reducing the carbon footprint to about 25%? Do I need to reach 100% traceability of direct suppliers, etc.? Then the most important components of what's my carbon footprint like across scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions. A quick, in a nutshell, a quick view for the Chief Sustainability Officer, for a CXO, to see what are my target KPIs, what are my current KPIs, what are my annual KPIs on sustainability, right? We've, of course, showed only about 10 KPIs here. You can create this dashboard beautifully with a lot more KPIs that are relevant to your organization. Then you want to know what your carbon footprint is, what your total carbon emissions are. So in a quick card, you understand your total carbon emission and total carbon footprint. You want to know month-wise breakdown of your carbon emissions. You also want to understand a city-wise or a location-wise carbon emission. So you're able to quickly put that in perspective rather than going back and forth on spreadsheets. Here's another view where we are talking about total scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions that an organization possibly needs to understand. When you want to take a look at it, we'll quickly do a drill down. A beautiful drill down tells you on your scope 3 emissions, where are the maximum culprits. So you see here, business travel and employee commute are the maximum culprits. So when you want to reduce your carbon footprint on scope 3 emissions, these are places where you would put your maximum focus on. I drill down again, and it tells me that gasoline cars possibly are the ones that are a major part of this contribution to scope 3 emissions. So what could I do? Possibly I would put in a scenario where I would say, if I replace this with EVs, how would my carbon footprint look like? So that's also something that we could typically do we could typically showcase to you, right? Then on environmental sustainability, organizations also want to understand in totality, what's my material footprint or what's my materiality footprint? So whether that is on raw materials used entirely, associated process materials used, or packaging material used, what is the quantity, what is the type of material used in entirety, which are the locations where these material is used, which are the locations where this material is sourced from, or what are the time frames for the quantity of material that is used. Similarly, again, organizations get penalized heavily for hazardous and non-hazardous waste material being disposed of in different locations. So it's very important for organizations across different standards and across frameworks to suggest what are the waste disposal methods that they're using, what are the quantities of non-hazardous waste that they are using, they're reusing, they're disposing, and what is the waste disposed by destination. So if we're able to quickly take a look at all these components across different parameters. Now that was a little bit on waste, renewable versus renewable, and carbon footprint in the environmental sustainability app. If I were to look at the corporate sustainability app, you would have definitely different assessment parameters. But let's say if we were to look at an assessment of suppliers and supplier performance, then we want to understand organization-wide what's the percentage of new suppliers, what's the percentage of suppliers where we have reached agreements on improvements, what are the percentage of suppliers where we have terminated relationships, so what's the churn. So you would get a quick assessment of corporate sustainability parameters as well. So, you know, of course, we can deep dive into several different dashboards, but this was a quick summary of a few dashboards. We have about 100 different dashboards out of the box configured for a multitude of different frameworks. But in a nutshell, I wanted to showcase to you the power of instantaneous ability to bring in out of box dashboards. While this looks simplistic, there's about 35 different spreadsheets that go into creating this. There are 590 metrics across these 100 dashboards that we have covered, which means that while we cover about 10 different frameworks out of box, you will still be able to configure by about just with 20% configurations, we will be able to cover any kind of a framework that is being brought in to a system. So very high configurability. And I'll go back to the deck that I presented where we said that the Chief Sustainability Officer needs to understand what are my sustainability KPIs. So we answered that by a dashboard. Can I collect data one time across all different frameworks? Yes, we have it templatized. We map the template. We work with the teams to ensure that within a single collection and framework, all your data comes in one time. You do not need to go through again and again to create different surveys, to create different data across different frameworks. Can I get real-time view of all my current sustainability performance? You saw that as a part of the dashboards as well. And what is my current carbon footprint? So yes, you're able to understand your carbon footprint, the details of the carbon footprint, how to mitigate it, so on and so forth. So keeping that in mind, I think that's all that I have from the sustainability presentation.
Thanks, Shuchi. So today we have covered, CTRM, e-sourcing, treasury, and sustainability. Happy to take any questions. You can tell the CS team, they can ask us, or you can put in the chat box here. I'm happy to answer the questions that you might have. I'm going to give it a minute and then I'll end the session if there are no questions. All right, assume there are no questions, but if anybody has any follow-ups, please ask the CS team and we're happy to answer. Thank you very much for your time today. Thanks.